cream farmer in Wisconsin. I will start with, I was a veteran of the First World War. I was at the midterm conference of BKfoodconference. Does anybody know much about BKfoodconference? Okay, and food sovereignty, does that ring a bell? Yes. Well, we've got lots of material that'll explain it. So, but anyway, at this conference in Brittany, I think a year ago, this one speaker said, he was an Arabic man, I can't remember the country now, but I think it was Tunisia. He said 1 billion people will be migrating and have been migrating in the next few years. One reason is these trade policies. And that, do you have any idea where they're going? I mean, already you can see on the news, they're migrating from country to country. And it's, a lot of it is due to hunger, taken over by the agriculture policy, taken over by huge corporations and so on. So what is it doing for the U.S.? It's putting farmers off the land, the small ones, because there's subsidies for the big ones. And so we have been a food deficit nation for 15 years, so we have to import more than we use. But they always say West with threats of military might, and they use one or the other, or economic might, to just persuade these countries. As of a few months ago, several major corporations now have more power than U.S. government. So this is what we're up against. They set the policy, and so that's what's happening. And we've got an office in Washington, and we know the power. No matter what we do, and no matter what our Congress people promise, they're going to buckle. All but just less than a handful. So it's pretty sad. Now the organic people are at risk because of the policy of contaminating by Monsanto and the other big GMO companies to export their grain, and the only kind that they will export to countries that are hungry is to unmilled grain, so that they're hoping they'll plant some and contaminate their seed stocks. They did that in Africa a few years ago, or tried. And Dr. Lewanika was accused of genocide. Which country was that?
Zambia.
Anyway,
For opposing unmilled grain.
But he held it up, but most countries are not able to. But he was able to stop that. So, and the same thing is happening now in the U.S. With the price of corn for ethanol, and so then it's the organic grain farmers are now going conventional because they cannot afford certification, and so there won't be enough organic grain to feed the organic cows and other animals. So this is something to be aware of. Now, well, you can take your pick. Free trade, you can get mad cow from the US, you can get melamine from China, or you can get milk protein concentrate, which is a waste product from the Ukraine, where the radiation is still pretty great.
Chernobyl fallout milk powder.
And
To your craft singles manufacturer.
and New Zealand. The British had a mad cow. They destroyed 2.5 million cows. I was there shortly after it happened. And they overreacted and killed all those cows, but they had covered it up for so long that it got to a point. Well, it's happening in the U.S. right now. They just had 4 or 5, but there's many, many more because they are feeding dead cows back to cows, and that's how it spreads. And of course, in addition to chicken manure and dead pigs and chickens, even though it's supposed to be outlawed, the cows, but they don't pay any attention to it. And that's what we're exporting, or demanding that the Koreans take, and they knew that. I was there, and they were very much against it because they don't want their people to be exposed to that. So anyway, I guess I better stop.
Well, you can wrap it up.
Okay, so well, there's going to be a question
Yes.
afterwards. Okay. So we need to look at what's happening in other countries and how it impacts us, and it does. There's no separating the damages to the environment, to wages and prices. So, the 7 principles of food sovereignty was developed by the Via Campesina over a period of 10, 15 years, and I was part of that process. I worked with the people for almost 30 years, and now we have copies of that, and if you could read that, it covers every aspect of food production, agrarian reform, feed your own people first, local control, fair wages or fair prices. Well, anyway, there's 7 of them, and if we follow them, it would take care of everything we talk about. And they are the best kept secrets of the churches. It's got all these great things, how you treat people, peace, and all this. Don't use food as a weapon. And so locally we are challenging our churches to look at those documents. And so churches, people of faith, have the biggest captive audience in the United States. So there's a big chunk of people that we can reach, and it's working. And the first thing I do when we have a meeting is to pass out the 7 principles of food sovereignty, and when we buy local for events in the churches and community, the farmers and the producers come up and say, well, I want this much for my product. And if it's too low, we tell them, that's not right. We're going to pay you a fair trade price. It's amazing. So it takes a couple of years to sink in, but it is sinking in. So we felt that we had to do something locally in order to talk about something, internationally. But it's working. It's really amazing.